Hit like now so you won't miss episode 40, where Tu Tien's simple love is tested through gifts, promises, and honest conversations between Jack and the people around him. Join us on this journey. A peaceful morning found Jack's mother awake before sunrise. She carefully prepared breakfast as usual, cooking a pot of hot noodles and making a glass of milk for her son. As the aroma filled the kitchen, she glanced at the clock and paused. It was nearly 8, but Jack still wasn't up. A quiet worry crept in, and she set her utensils down to check on him. He softly opened his bedroom door to see Jack sitting on the bed, looking weary and distant. Concerned, she asked, "What's wrong, Jack? You haven't seemed like yourself these last few days." Jack forced a smile. "I'm fine, Mum, just a bit tired. Don't worry." She rested her hand on his shoulder and spoke gently. "No matter what you do, take care of your health so I can have peace of mind." He nodded, then got up to change clothes. Downstairs, Jack sat down to the hot bowl of noodles his mother had prepared. After just a few bites, he set his chopsticks down. She watched quietly, her eyes filled with concern. After breakfast, they chatted in the living room. She told him stories about their neighbors and relatives, then mentioned, "Oh, on the 20th, I'm going to your Aunt Lynn's wedding. If you're free, drive me there, okay?" Jack hesitated briefly but quickly agreed. "Sure, Mum, I'll take you." He didn't want her to know he'd been suspended from work or how messy everything felt. He wanted to keep her life calm and undisturbed. Leaving home, Jack got into his car, his expression pensive. As he drove, his mind churned with doubts. His suspension was clearly tied to that suspicious project introduced by Mr. Thiet. Why had all the paperwork gone through him first, yet Jack was the one bearing all the blame? He decided to meet Mr. Thiet at a cafe to clear things up. Sitting across from each other in a quiet corner, Jack got straight to the point. "You checked the paperwork. Why did a problematic contract slip through?" Mr. Thiet merely sipped his coffee with a slight smile. "I only forwarded the documents. You were the final sign-off." Jack pressed on firmly. "But you told me at the time that everything was legit." Thiet raised an eyebrow, his tone full of implication. "Watch what you say. Once words are out, they can't be taken back." With that, Mr. Thiet stood and left, leaving Jack sitting there, motionless. The suspicion in his eyes solidified into determination. Jack called Luan, a close friend who worked in legal. Within minutes, the two were seated together at the same cafe. Jack recounted the entire story, from his suspension to the possibility that someone had set him up. "I need your help. There's definitely someone pulling the strings here." Luan nodded firmly. "Give me all the files to review. If there's something shady going on, I'll help you uncover it." Jack squeezed his friend's hand, hope lighting up his tired eyes. For the first time in days, he no longer felt alone. His fight for justice had only just begun. Morning sunlight filtered through the leaves as Tu Tien followed her usual routine, hoisting a basket onto her back and heading into the fields to buy fresh cabbages. She carefully chose each head, only picking those with leaves intact and undamaged. Once her basket was full, she smiled in satisfaction and returned home, ready to sell her produce at the local market. At the rural marketplace, Tu Tien spread a white cloth on the ground and neatly arranged her cabbages. Her expression was calm yet resolute. She was determined to sell as many as possible, not just for income, but also to chip away at the debt she owed Jack. Even though no one forced her to repay him right away, she carried within her a quiet sense of pride and a promise she'd made to herself. People at the market recognized her and trusted her produce. "Her vegetables are always clean and fresh, never a bad buy," an elderly woman remarked cheerfully. Word spread, and soon Tu Tien's small stall was bustling with customers. Meanwhile, at the far end of the market, Soan and his company's technical team were checking progress on a community market project. Sponsored by his company, it was already about 80% complete. Soan directed his team to carefully inspect the drainage system and main trading area. "Try to wrap things up by next week. We're heading into the holiday season. People need a stable place to do business." Walking down the corridor, Soan was surprised to spot Tu Tien selling vegetables. He smiled and approached. "It's been a while since I've seen you here." She looked up, startled, then smiled back. "Just selling some cabbages. They're at a good price today." Glancing at the vegetables, Soan teased, Maybe when I'm done, I'll treat you to a drink? Cool off a bit?" Tu Tien gently shook her head. "I need to sell the rest and get home to cook." He nodded, respecting her busy schedule. Even in those brief minutes, they shared a comfortable understanding. no formality, no needless distance. When she finished, Tu Tien collected her money, packed up her remaining cabbages, and got ready to leave. Sweat dotted her face, but she still wore that calm, determined look, like a young plant turning toward the sun. Late in the afternoon, Jack drove to the farm. After days of suspension and inner turmoil, he yearned for the one peaceful place he knew, where Tu Tien lived. However, when he arrived, the house was silent. He knocked a few times, then called her phone. No one picked up. Jack stood quietly on the porch, then kicked off his shoes and slipped on the pair of boots hanging by the door. He headed out into the garden, where the vegetable beds were still a vibrant green. Gently, he took up a watering can, sprinkling water with slow, careful movements, as though afraid to harm the plants. Afterward, he sat down on the porch, methodically removing kernels from a batch of dried corn. His hands stayed busy, but his thoughts raced with paperwork, meetings, reports, and the conspicuous silence from Mr. Thiet. About 10 minutes later, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed outside the gate. Tu Tien returned, carrying 2 heavy baskets. She was surprised to see Jack waiting. "How long have you been here?" she asked, setting down her load. He looked up with a small smile. "Not too long. I waited a bit and watered the veggies for you." Tu Tien joined him on the porch, noticing how tired he looked. She gazed at him carefully and gently asked, "Is something bothering you?" Jack avoided her eyes. "It's nothing. I'm just a bit worn out. I came to tell you, if I get a few days off soon, I'll take you to find your family. You said you used to live in Phuc, right?" She froze. "But who will look after the farm?" "I'll hire someone to help. Right now, taking care of yourself comes first. You deserve to reclaim what's yours." Tu Tien's heart filled with emotion. She sensed Jack was hiding something but didn't press him. She believed that if he needed to talk, he would. In Jack's mind, one thought stood out. He had to prove his innocence no matter what, but before that, he had to protect the 2 people who mattered most, his mother and Tu Tien. At Golden Key, Mr. Thiet, who had been appointed acting director in Jack's place, couldn't hide his smug satisfaction. Seated at the director's desk, he ran his hand over its polished surface, relishing his new position. But it didn't last long. Caution soon replaced his pleasure. He called Khan, a trusted subordinate, and gave instructions. "From now on, follow Jack's every move, where he goes, who he meets, what he does. Report back to me. Don't miss a thing." Khan nodded and left immediately. Around the same time, in a quiet cafe, Jiang sat alone, reviewing the project files tied to Jack's suspension. Her brow furrowed with concern as she flipped through each page. Unease gnawed at her, and after a moment's thought, she dialed Jack's number and asked to meet. Elsewhere in the city, Jack's mother and Giang's mother, Mrs. Thu, were having drinks with friends. Glancing outside, Mrs. Thu happened to spot Toan signing a contract with a business partner. When he finished, she approached him. "You must be Toan, right? I remember you from that meal at Tien's place." He looked up and smiled warmly. "Yes, ma'am, that was you and Giang's mother, right?" They pulled up seats and talked. Mrs. Thu asked about his relationship with Tu Tien, mentioning that Tu Tien had once helped her in a time of need. "That girl is so kind and caring, I really like her," she remarked. Tu Tien just smiled in agreement before excusing himself to take his partner out to dinner. A while later, Jack arrived at the cafe where Jiang was waiting, unaware that Khan and an unknown man were watching him from a distance. As soon as he walked inside, he saw Jiang already seated. She stood up, looking a bit uneasy. "You vanished for a few days. I was worried. I heard you were suspended. Do you need my help with anything?" Jack shook his head and smiled faintly. "Thanks, but I'm working with the police to investigate. It seems like someone intentionally set a trap." He looked at Jiang with genuine respect. "I appreciate you, but right now, I don't need anything. If I do, I'll let you know." Jiang hesitated for a second, then asked gently, "Have you ever had any feelings for me? Even just a little?" Jack paused, then spoke calmly. "You're a good friend, but my heart belongs entirely to Tu Tien." Her face fell with disappointment, though she tried to hide it, biting her lip before saying, "Then I hope you get through all this soon. Whether we're friends or not, I'll still support you." Jack said nothing more, just gave a slight nod. They sat there, in the cafe's warm atmosphere, each with a silent heaviness in their own thoughts. After selling her cabbages at the market, Tu Tien returned home feeling relieved. She lit a fire in the stove, put on a pot of water, and began boiling some meat. As she rinsed vegetables, her mind wandered to the small debt she was slowly chipping away at. Jack arrived just as she was busy in the kitchen. Without saying much, he smiled and rolled up his sleeves to help her clean the greens and tend the stove. The small kitchen felt unusually cozy. They sat down to a simple lunch of boiled meat, boiled grains, and ginger fish sauce. Jack ate and nodded approvingly. "Your cooking is always delicious. Must be tough living here all by yourself, huh?" Tu Tien shook her head gently, smiling. "I'm used to it. I find it peaceful on my own." As they were finishing, Jack hesitated, then said, "I've got a few days off starting tomorrow. The company gave me some leave. I want to take you to find your family." Tu Tien froze, her chopsticks pausing in midair. "Really? But I don't know what will happen if we meet them again." Her voice grew quiet, eyes distant. "I just hope they're still healthy and happy." Jack reached out and lightly held her hand. "Don't worry. Everything will be fine. I've arranged for someone to watch the farm for a few days." He still said nothing about his suspension or the surveillance he was under, nor did he mention his suspicions about Mr. Thiet. For Jack, what mattered most right now was devoting his time off to the person he loved. While they talked in the small kitchen, Carne lurked behind the banana trees outside, watching. He took out his phone and called Mr. Thiet immediately. "Jack is taking that girl Tu Tien to find her family. Looks like they're leaving first thing tomorrow." A breeze rustled the banana leaves. Inside, Tu Tien had no idea that her upcoming journey had already caught the attention of a hidden force.
Ngày chuyến dắt lò thị Hường về nhà, cô không chỉ mất đi một người chồng mà còn mất đi chốn nương tựa duy nhất. Hình ảnh Hường tay trong tay với Chiến được cả gia đình chồng đón tiếp nồng hậu, trong khi cô, người đã hy sinh cả thanh xuân vì mái nhà này, chỉ là một cái bóng nhạt nhòa, thật sự quá nỗi đau lòng. Mẹ chồng cô không ngần ngại buông những lời cay nghiệt như thể chỉ chờ cơ hội này để trút hết khinh thường lên đầu cô. Cái nhà này cần có cháu đích tôn, chứ không phải cần một người đàn bà vô dụng. Từng lời nói chữ dắt dao cứ sâu vào trái tim tự Tiên. Đôi mắt cô đỏ hoe, bàn tay nắm chặt vào vạt áo cũ. Cô kìm nén để không bật khóc trước mặt những kẻ chẳng chút thương xót cô. Chiến, người từng đỏ tay gối với cô, người từng hứa hẹn bao điều, giờ đây lại lạnh lùng đứng nhìn không một chút do dự. Cô đã không còn gì trong ánh mắt anh ta. Nỗi đau không còn dừng lại ở những lời miệt thị khi mẹ chồng lớn tiếng đuổi cô ra khỏi nhà. Tự Tiên gần như quỵ xuống. Cô không biết mình đã làm gì sai ngoài việc sinh ra một trong một số phận bất hạnh. Ngày cô về nhà chồng, cô cũng từng e thẹn bước qua